Vampire Princess called herself a monster, until a human loved her. The Crimson Dominion drifted in endless night, a vast world wrapped in shadows and glowing red cities. Its towers were tall and sharp, built from dark crystal that reflected the light of distant stars. To the rest of the galaxy, this planet was a place of fear. Many whispered its name with dread, calling it the world of monsters. At the heart of this world lived the Vampire Princess. She stood alone on a high balcony, looking down at her silent capital. Her skin was pale, almost silver under the artificial moonlight. Her eyes glowed softly, red like embers that never went out. She wore royal armor, elegant and dark, but it felt heavy on her shoulders. She had worn the title of princess for centuries, yet loneliness followed her like a shadow. From the moment she was born, she was taught one truth: her kind were monsters, not because they wished to be, but because the galaxy said so. The Vampire Dominion did not drink blood, as legends claimed. They fed on bioenergy, a natural life force released by living beings. Long ago, this process had been gentle and shared, but fear changed everything. Other species attacked, forced wars, and the Dominion learned to survive by strength alone. Over time, mercy became weakness, and power became law. The princess remembered her lessons well. Her tutors told her that love was a dangerous idea. Compassion made rulers hesitate. Hesitation killed empires. So she learned to rule with calm cruelty, to keep her voice steady even when her heart felt empty. Her people bowed to her, feared her, and praised her power, but none truly knew her. That night, alarms echoed across the capital. Red lights flashed through the towers. A foreign object had entered the planet's atmosphere without permission. The princess turned as her guards approached, kneeling before her. "A human vessel has crashed beyond the northern wastes," one guard said. "Life signs detected. A single survivor." The word human stirred something strange within her. Humans were new to the galactic stage, fragile compared to ancient empires, yet known for stubborn courage. The council had warned her about them. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous in ways that did not rely on strength. The court gathered quickly. Elders with glowing eyes and sharp features filled the chamber. Their voices were cold and certain. "The human should be drained," one elder said. "His energy will strengthen our shields." "He crossed our borders," another added. "Fear must be maintained." The princess listened in silence. This was expected. This was the way things had always been, a life taken to protect millions, a monster's choice. She finally spoke, her voice calm and controlled. "I will see the human myself." The elders hesitated but did not argue. Her word was law. Hours later, she stood at the crash site. The human ship lay broken, half buried in black sand. Smoke rose into the dark sky. Guards surrounded the area, weapons ready. Near the wreckage lay the human, injured but alive. His armor was cracked, his movements slow. Yet when she stepped forward, he lifted his head and looked at her. He did not scream. He did not beg. He simply stared, eyes wide, breathing hard but calm. She felt it then, a small fracture in her certainty. Most beings trembled when they saw her. Some fainted. Some cursed her name. This human did none of that. His eyes held fear, yes, but also curiosity, respect, even relief. She ordered the guards to step back. They obeyed, confused. "You know what I am," she said. Her voice echoed softly in the night. "I know what they say you are," the human replied, his voice weak but steady. "But you saved me from bleeding out. That matters more." She paused. No one had thanked her in centuries. He tried to sit up and failed. Without thinking, she reached out and steadied him. Her touch was cold yet gentle. The human winced but did not pull away. "You should fear me," she said quietly. "Everyone does." "Maybe," he said, "but fear doesn't change what you just did." The guards shifted uneasily. This was not how things were supposed to go. The princess ordered the human taken to a secure chamber within the capital, not a prison. The elders protested, but she silenced them with a glance. That night she could not return to her rest chamber. Her thoughts would not settle. The human's words echoed in her mind. Days passed. The human healed slowly under Dominion technology. The princess visited him in secret, always alone. She told herself it was to study him, to understand humanity better, yet each visit felt different, lighter, less heavy. The human spoke freely. He asked about her world, her people, her history. He listened when she answered, really listened. When she spoke of being called a monster, he frowned, not in fear but in sadness. "You didn't choose how you were born," he said. "That doesn't make you a monster." She almost laughed at the simplicity of it, almost. You do not understand, she replied. Everything I am is built on taking from others. And yet, he said softly, you haven't taken from me. Those words struck deeper than any weapon. Outside the chamber, tension grew. The Galactic Council had detected the humans' survival. Messages arrived, sharp and threatening. They accused the vampire dominion of manipulation and demanded the humans' immediate termination. War fleets began to move. The elders urged the princess to act, to drain the human and end the problem, to remind the galaxy why they were feared. She stood once more on her balcony, staring into the endless dark. For centuries, she had accepted the name monster because it made ruling easier. Because it hurt less than hoping for something more. But now, one fragile human had looked at her without hate. Below, her people waited for her decision. And for the first time in her long life, the vampire princess wondered if the galaxy had been wrong about her. The human woke to a soft red glow. It was not harsh or blinding, just enough to show the smooth, dark walls around him. The room felt quiet, almost peaceful. He tried to move and felt only a dull ache instead of sharp pain. That surprised him. He had expected worse. Machines hummed gently near the walls. Thin lines of light moved across his body, scanning and repairing. The Vampire Dominion's healing technology worked slowly but carefully. It did not force the body. It supported it. When he turned his head, he saw her standing near the far wall. The vampire princess watched him silently. Her posture was calm, controlled, but her eyes showed something deeper. Curiosity, maybe worry. She had come many times already, always when no guards were present. The court believed she was observing a subject. Only she knew the truth. She was avoiding her own thoughts. You are awake, she said. I think I never fully slept, the human replied. His voice was still weak but stronger than before. This place feels heavy, but not cruel. She did not know how to respond to that. No one had ever described her world that way. You should rest, she said after a pause. Your body is still repairing itself. I will, he said. But since you're here, can I ask something? She nodded. Why haven't you drained me? The question was direct, honest. It made her uncomfortable. That decision is not final, she answered carefully. Your survival is temporary. He studied her face. You don't sound convinced. Silence filled the room. The machines hummed on. Finally, she spoke. You are not what I expected. He smiled slightly. You keep saying that. But I could say the same. That made her turn away. She moved closer to the window, looking out at the dark city. Red lights floated through the air like distant stars. My people are feared, she said, not without reason. Long ago, we learned to survive by taking what others would not give freely. And now, he asked, and now the galaxy refuses to forget, she said, so we play the role they assigned us. The human was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, that sounds lonely. Her hands clenched at her sides. Days passed. His strength slowly returned. He could walk short distances, always watched by silent guards outside the chamber. Inside, the princess visited often. Sometimes they spoke. Sometimes they simply shared the silence. She learned about Earth, about cities filled with light, about people who argued, laughed, failed, and tried again, about humanity's weakness and stubborn hope. You should hate us, she said once. My kind has hunted humans before. He shook his head. I don't hate people I don't know, and you haven't hurt me. Yet, she said, he met her gaze. If you wanted to, I'd already be gone. That truth unsettled her more than any threat. Outside the chamber, pressure grew. Messages from the Galactic Council arrived daily. Their words were sharp, filled with warnings and threats. They demanded proof of the human's death. They accused the princess of manipulation, of planning to use humanity as leverage. The elders gathered again. This is dangerous, one said. The human weakens you. He makes you hesitate, another added. Hesitation will destroy us. The princess listened, her expression unreadable. I will decide when the time comes, she said. When she returned to the human that night, she found him standing near the window, looking out at the city. He had never been allowed to leave the chamber, but the view alone seemed enough. It's beautiful, he said. It is a fortress, she corrected. It can be both, he replied. She did not argue. Instead, she told him the truth, about the council, about the fleets moving closer, about the demand that he be drained to power their defenses. If I refuse, she said, war will come. He turned to her slowly. His face was serious but calm. Then I guess I'm the problem, he said. You are not, she replied quickly, too quickly. He smiled sadly. Your people shouldn't suffer because of me. "You do not understand," she said. "If I do this, I become exactly what they believe I am. And if you do," he asked, "then I risk everything." They stood there, facing each other, the weight of galaxies between them. Later that night, alarms echoed through the capital again. This time, it was not a crash. It was a signal. Long-range scanners detected movement at the edge of the system. Galactic Council ships. Not an invasion yet, but close enough to be a threat. The elders demanded immediate action. The princess stood before her throne, calm on the outside, torn inside. "Bring the human," she said. Guards escorted him into the grand hall. He walked slowly, but with dignity. Hundreds of glowing eyes watched him. Fear, hatred, hunger filled the air. The elders spoke loudly, accusing, demanding. "This is what mercy brings," one shouted. "The galaxy smells weakness." The princess raised her hand, and silence fell. She walked down from the throne and stood before the human. "You know why you are here?" she said quietly. He nodded. "Yes. If I drain you," she continued, "my people gain power, the council retreats, the war ends before it begins. And if you don't," he said, "they attack." "Yes," he took a breath. "Then do it." Her eyes widened. "My life is not worth a war," he said. "Humans believe in sacrifice, we always have." The hall was silent. The elders watched closely. She stepped closer to him. She could feel his energy, warm and steady. Taking it would be easy. It always was. But when she looked at him, she did not see fuel. She saw trust. Slowly, she turned to the crowd. "This," she said, "is what the galaxy fears, not our power, but our choice." She stepped back from the human. "I will not drain him." Gasps filled the hall. The elders shouted in anger. "You will doom us," one cried. "No," she replied, "I will define us." At that moment, a new signal broke through the chamber. Human ships had entered the system, not warships in attack formation, but defensive escorts. They sent one message only. "We come to protect our own and to talk." The princess felt something she had not felt in centuries. Hope. The galaxy had expected monsters. Instead, they were about to meet something far more dangerous. A choice. The arrival of the human ships changed the balance of the system. They did not rush forward or power weapons. They held their position at the edge of the Crimson Dominion's space, shields active but calm. Their message repeated again and again, steady and clear. They had come to protect one life, not to start a war. Inside the capital, fear spread faster than any alarm. The elders argued loudly. Some demanded immediate attack before the humans could move closer. Others urged secrecy, hoping the council fleets would arrive first and crush both sides. The vampire princess listened to every voice, but her mind stayed focused on one thing only: choice. The human stood beside her in the great hall, guarded but unharmed. He did not speak. He knew words were no longer enough. The galaxy had reached a moment where actions would decide everything. The Galactic Council's fleet arrived soon after. Massive ships of many species filled the dark sky. Their weapons powered up, glowing lines of energy aimed toward the Crimson Dominion. Their leader sent a final demand. "Hand over the human, prove your loyalty to galactic law, or be destroyed." The words echoed through every tower. The princess felt the weight of centuries press down on her. Every ruler before her had chosen survival through fear. They had accepted the role of monster because monsters were allowed to live as long as they were useful. But now, usefulness demanded a sacrifice she could no longer accept. She turned to the human. "You can still leave," she said quietly. "Your people will protect you." He shook his head. "If I leave now, they'll say you hid behind us, that you manipulated us. I won't give them that." She looked at him, truly looked at him, and understood something important. Humans were fragile, yes, but their strength did not come from their bodies. It came from their refusal to abandon what they believed was right. She stepped forward, away from the throne, toward the center of the hall. Her voice carried across the city and into space. "I will answer the council myself." A direct channel opened. The faces of the council leaders appeared, cold and judgmental. "You shelter a threat," one said. "You defy the balance." "I shelter a person," the princess replied. "One you fear because he reminds you that power does not make you just." Anger flared on their faces. "You feed on others," another said. "You always have." "Yes," she said, "and we learned that lesson from you." Silence followed. The council did not expect defiance. They expected submission or violence. The princess continued. "My people will no longer be weapons. We will not drain life to prove we deserve to exist. If that means war, then we will face it as ourselves, not as monsters you designed." The channel closed without response. Moments later, the council fleet advanced. Alarms screamed. Defense systems activated across the Dominion. The sky burned with light as the first exchange began. Energy blasts struck shields. Shockwaves rippled through space. The human ships moved instantly. They placed themselves between the Council fleet and the Dominion, shields flaring wide. They did not fire first. They absorbed the impact. The elders panicked. "They will all die," one shouted. "This is madness." "No," the princess said. "This is courage." She gave a new order, one that had never been spoken before. "Redirect all energy systems," she said. "Not to weapons, to shields, protect everyone." The elders stared at her in disbelief. "That will drain our reserves," one warned. "Then we will endure," she replied. The Dominion's technology responded. The city's towers dimmed slightly as energy flowed outward, reinforcing planetary shields. For the first time in their history, their power was used only to defend, never to take. The battle grew fierce. The Council fleet increased pressure, frustrated by resistance that did not follow expected patterns. Humans maneuvered with precision, covering weak points, sacrificing advantage to protect civilians. They fought not to win quickly, but to hold the line. Inside the capital, citizens watched in silence. They had lived their entire lives believing fear was their only shield. Now they saw something else: cooperation, trust. The human beside the princess watched the battle through the great windows. His face was tense but calm. "They won't stop," he said, "not until something breaks their certainty." "What breaks certainty?" she asked. "Proof," he replied. She turned to him. "Of what?" "That monsters can choose not to be monsters," she understood. With a single command, she opened Dominion archives long sealed. Records of ancient history, of times when her people had shared energy freely, healed others, built together. Evidence that the legend of monsters had been shaped by fear and politics. The data streamed openly across galactic channels. Every species watching saw the truth. Not perfect beings, but not demons either, just survivors shaped by war. The Council hesitated. Confusion spread among their ranks. Some ships slowed, others broke formation. That hesitation was enough. Human diplomats transmitted alongside the data. Calm voices spoke of cooperation, of shared technology that allowed energy exchange without harm. They offered solutions instead of threats. The Council fleet stopped advancing. One by one, ships powered down their weapons. The silence that followed felt unreal. Inside the great hall, the elders fell quiet. The princess stood tall, exhaustion heavy but heart steady. The human looked at her, awe in his eyes. "You changed everything," he said. "No," she replied softly. "We did." Across the galaxy, something ancient cracked. Not a shield, not a fleet, a belief. And as the battle ended without a final blow, the vampire princess realized something she had never allowed herself to believe before. She was not a monster fighting against her nature. She was a ruler choosing a better one. The silence after the battle felt heavier than the fighting itself. Ships floated in space, unmoving, their weapons powered down. The great shields around the Crimson Dominion still glowed faintly, like a breath being held. Across the capital, people stepped out onto balconies and streets, staring up at the sky. For the first time in generations, the night did not feel like a cage. Inside the royal hall, the vampire princess stood alone for a moment. The elders had withdrawn, shaken and uncertain. The human remained nearby, guarded but free. He watched her carefully, as if afraid she might vanish now that the danger had passed. The galactic channels stayed open. Messages poured in from many worlds. Some were confused, some were angry, others were quietly hopeful. The Council had not declared victory. They had not declared war. They had paused, and for an ancient institution built on control, that pause meant everything. The princess finally turned to the human. "It is not over," she said. He nodded. "Big changes never are." Soon, a formal request arrived. The Galactic Council asked for a summit. Not a trial, not a demand. A meeting, neutral ground, equal voices. The elders reacted with fear. "It is a trap," one warned. "They will twist words, they always do." "Then we will speak carefully," the princess replied. She surprised them again with her next decision. "The human will stand beside me," gasps filled the chamber. "They will never accept that," another elder said. "They already have," she answered. "They just don't know it yet." The journey to the summit took days. Human ships escorted the Dominion vessel, not as guards, but as partners. Along the way, the human and the princess spoke often. Not about war or politics, but about smaller things. Memories, questions, quiet thoughts that had never found space before. "You still call yourself a monster," the human said once. She looked away. "Names leave scars. Scars can heal," he replied, "if you let them." When they arrived, the summit chamber was vast and bright. Representatives of dozens of species filled the space. Whispers spread as the vampire princess entered openly, without armor, without guards at her side. The human walked next to her, calm and steady. The council leaders spoke first. Their words were measured now, cautious. "You defied galactic law," one said. "And yet you prevented a war." "I chose not to continue one," the princess replied. "You ask us to believe your people can change," another said. "No," she said. "I ask you to accept that we already have." She did not threaten, she did not beg, she spoke plainly. She explained the new energy-sharing systems humanity offered. She admitted the past without excuses. She did something no one expected. She took responsibility. "We caused fear," she said, "and fear shaped us, but fear does not have to decide our future." The chamber was silent. Then the human stepped forward. "My species is not strong because we win every fight," he said. "We are strong because we keep choosing not to give up on each other. That's all they're asking for, a chance." One by one, voices spoke. Some argued, some doubted. But something had shifted. The image of monsters no longer held the same weight. At last, the council made a decision. Not perfect, not complete, but real. Sanctions were lifted. Borders reopened. The Crimson Dominion would be monitored, yes, but also supported. Joint projects would begin immediately. Energy exchange without harm, cultural contact, no more isolation. The princess bowed her head, not in submission but in acknowledgement. When they returned home, the capital greeted them with light. Not the red of warning, but soft gold and silver. The people filled the streets, unsure at first, then cheering. Not because they had won, but because they had survived without losing themselves. The elders changed too, slowly. Some stepped down, others learned to listen. The Dominion began to transform. Towers opened to the sky, ships left not as raiders but as explorers. The human chose to stay, not as a prisoner, not as a symbol, simply as himself. He walked the city freely now. Children followed him, curious. Elders watched him, thoughtful. And the princess walked beside him, no longer alone. One evening they stood again on the same balcony where everything had begun. The city below glowed with life. "You could have left," she said. "You still can." "I know," he replied, "but I don't want to." She looked at him, truly looked at him, and for the first time she did not see a mirror of her doubt. She saw her future. "I spent centuries believing love was weakness," she said quietly. "And now?" he asked. "And now I know it takes more strength than fear ever did." She reached for his hand. The city watched, the stars watched, and nothing broke. Across the galaxy, stories spread. Not about a monster princess, not about a fragile human, but about a ruler who chose compassion and a human who reminded the darkness it was allowed to change. And for the first time in her long life, the vampire princess no longer called herself a monster.